So what is a servlet mapping and what is web.xml? We have already seen this. The URL that comes in as part of the request from the client is mapped to a specific servlet on the server. We have seen already this. And the user request must map to a particular servlet and usually configure that mapping. And how to do the configuration we have already seen with the help of web.xml file. Anyone who deploys your application can deploy any person that could be your team member or any means a team leader. Okay, so anyone who deploy the servlet can also give a specific deployment name. So the developer and deployer can give the specific name. And as I told you yesterday that you can put the name of the servlet and the URL as per your application configuration. The deployment name is simply a secret internal name that doesn't have to be the same as the class or file name. So we can have the different name, the internal aliasing. We have already seen that is servlet name and that mapped with the servlet class. The servlet has public URL name, the name the client knows about it. The public URL name is a fake name made up for the clients. So this the URL that we write here, it is for the client. It is not for actually a developer. So this is the fake name. What happened maximum time when we access any application, any web application? So how do we recognize that in which technology this application is developed? By seeing the extension of that file. Okay, extension means just look at here. Like if I write that provisapp.in/index.php, if I write this one, then we say that this application, the website, is developed in PHP by seeing the extension. Okay, and in the same way you can see many number of the application in which you can find the extensions. So this is actually the URL that is known by your client. It is not mandatory in the case of advanced Java that it is the same as your class name. This is the public URL. It is a fake URL. So you can write any URL for the class. Using the deployment descriptor to map the URL to the servlet, and we have already seen the DD is used to provide information about your web application, including the servlets, welcome file, security role, error page, tags, libraries, initial configuration information. So there are so many things that you can write in your deployment descriptor. So far, we have seen only the mapping of servlets. So this is not only the use of deployment descriptor. We can write so many things. What we can write also, we can write the welcome files name. What is the welcome files name? Let me show you. This is the application, okay? And when any user send a request to your application, for example, just look at here. So if any user send a request to my application, that is, for example, this is the www.provisaapps.in. So actually it is not requesting to any page, but still you will see that one page is by default going into the response. So this page is called the welcome page of your application. Okay, so when any user type the application name, so which page should be displayed at the welcome page, so you can configure that page into your web.xml. So just look at here. In web.xml, you can see here the welcome file name is index.jsp. So you can configure your index page name over here. So you can write index.jsp, home.jsp, index.html. So any page that you have written, you can write the name of that page. So let's see, if I direct call this application, then which page is by default coming as a welcome page. So server is going to start, and then we can see that which page is going as a response. So look at here, application that is first online application is called, but here no URL is mentioned. Okay, so it is going for this application, and one page is process and get back as a response to the user, to the client. So what is the page of what is the page name of this output? So look at here in project, just go and see the index page here, the written hello world. So why the index.jsp is going as a response? Because we have configured the index page as welcome page. So suppose if you want to change this one, then you can write your page name as per your requirement. Suppose I want that home.html should be my welcome page. So now look at here, when I'll request it, then you can see that home.html is going on as a response. This is the welcome page for application. Or in one line, if you want to understand that, then you can understand it with the respect of application that you use on mobile. So whenever you click on any mobile, then it will show you a welcome screen. Okay, so you don't request for that welcome screen, it is already configured in your application. So one more thing we can do is, that is we can write home.html as well. So the same output is coming. Okay, and if we don't mention as any URL, then again home.html is coming. Why? Because we have configured this page as welcome page. Got it? So we can configure so many things in web.xml. One is your servlet, second one is your session timeouts, third one is your welcome file name, libraries. So there are so many things, error page, tags. So you can write into deployment descriptor. So we'll see one by one those things, that security rules pages. When you deploy your servlet into your web container, deployment descriptor used to tell the container how to run your servlet, because it is the configuration of your application. So definitely it will tell to the container that how your request is going to be processed, which type of the security is going to be implemented, when any page is not found, and if any exception occurred, then which type of the page should be displayed to the user. So you can configure all the things into deployment descriptor. To map URL to the servlet, one to map the client known public URL name to your internal name, and the other map your own internal name to the fully qualified class name. So this is uh, these 2 points actually telling about this one, the servlet and servlet mapping. And we have already discussed this, so I'm not going to explain in detail. Servlet configuration, you can write into the servlet config. Okay, so that is called the init parameter of your any servlet. So if you want that whenever any servlet gets executed, then its configuration um, should be initialized by your web.xml, then you can write into web.xml using the parameter param name and the respected value by using param value. And to get those value that is configured for that servlet by the web.xml, you can write get servlet config, and after that you can write that get init parameter and that parameter name. So how to get these values for the servlet, how to configure a particular servlet. I'll explain this servlet config, and one is the context configuration. Okay, so just remember these two, this point, that is what is servlet config. When a container initializes a servlet, it makes a unique servlet config for a servlet, unique servlet configuration. Let's remember. The container reads the servlet init parameter from the deployment descriptor and gives them to the servlet config, then passes the servlet config to the servlet init method. And we know that, one second. And we know that the init method gets executed only once in the whole life cycle of the servlet. And we have already seen what is the life cycle of the servlet: init, service, and then destroy. So define the init parameter element of servlet. So just come to this part. So in which servlet you want to define the configuration, you can define here. So go to your web.xml, into the servlet, write init configuration. And here you will write init parameter, init param, close it. Let me copy. It is fine. Then param name, fine. Close it. Why it is not coming? Yes. Let me type first, then I'll explain. Param value, then parameter, and again this one. So this is your initial parameter. In short, we say that it is param. And what is the name of the parameter you want to put at to initialize? So you can write any parameter name. For example, I'm writing XYZ. This is your parameter name. And what is the value for this XYZ you want to initialize? So I say that this is the name of servlet config. Okay, this is servlet config parameter. Save it. So just look at here that in which servlet you are initializing this init parameter. So we are initializing this init parameter into the first servlet. So this will be initialized for only this servlet. Okay, you cannot access this XYZ into this servlet. So whenever the servlet will execute very first time, then init method will be called, and in init method, all the object of this configuration will be available, and you can get the value that is initialized by this init parameter in your first servlet. So how to get this into your servlet? To come to your first servlet here, and I'll just get and print and show you. Okay, So it says that if you want to get the value, then you can get the value by get init parameter method. Get init parameter. So let me check get init parameter. Okay, write down. And what is the parameter name? That is XYZ. So it will return the value corresponding to this method. So I can store the value into any variable, for example, S. I will write after this one because I want to print this value. Then out.println and S. So let's see that which type of the value we are getting as initialization. So here I'll insert the value this and 1, 2, 3, this one, and submit. So just look at here. It says that this is a servlet config parameter. Okay. So just look at here. This XYZ is coming from the initialization parameter that you have defined into your first servlet. So where you have configured this, we have configured this value into web.xml. Fine. So you can write as many as number of the parameter, means as per your requirement. XYZ, you can write X, you can put any value, 20, like this. So if you want to initialize some value that is for servlet, you can initialize that value by using the init parameter into the servlet tag. Okay, so this is called servlet config. This is called servlet config to define the configuration for a particular servlet. Another one is called the servlet context. So what is a servlet context? As I said earlier, that whenever I say that context, so context means the whole application. Okay, the whole application. So if you put anything, that is into the context, that will be available into the whole application. And whole application means the whole servlets, all servlet that you have defined in your application. If you put any configuration into the context. So within the web application, all of the servlets are share the same environment. Yes, that is fine and it is correct. The servlet container exposes the environment to the servlets through the JavaX servlet.ServletContext interface. So through this, the servlets can communicate to each other. This context is initialized at the time that the web application is loaded. This point is important and just note down. The context is initialized at the time that the web application is loaded. And how many times your application is loading in your server? Only once. It means your servlet context gets, or you can say the context is initialized only once. We have initialization parameters for the servlet context. These parameters are defined in the deployment descriptor of the web application contained within the context param. So how to write this? Just look at here. The context parameter will have two sub tags. One is your parameter name and second one is your parameter value for initializing the parameter. And to get the value, we write get init parameter string name. Okay, return a string containing the value of the parameter or null if the parameter doesn't exist. Or you can get the enumeration by using get parameters names, get resources. So this method returns a Java net URL. So you can use these methods to get the value. So let me show you one example that how to get the parameters. Come to the coding Now, one thing that you have to remember, if you want to initialize something that is only for a particular servlet, then you will write those parameters into init parameter, and it will be the part of the servlet. But if you want to define something that is common and available for all servlets, if you have defined 10 servlets in your application, if you want that these values, these configuration uh, context configurations should be available for all servlets, so you will define at the as a child of web app tag. So here we can define the context param, okay, and same, that is, one is called the param name, okay, and second one is your param value, parameter value. So let me check. I'm going to write that is quote, okay, and here one quotation for the application, or you can say that the punchline or the main heading of your application that is common for all context. So here I'm going to write that to earn first learn, okay. So now this context will be available for whole servlets, so you can get these values on any servlet. So how to get the values that is defined into the context? Come to the servlet and see the code. So this is the get init parameter. So it will return the value that is inside your servlet, but I want to access the value that is defined into the context, okay. So first thing that you need to do is you will write servlet context. You need to get the servlet context is equal request dot get servlet context. First get the servlet context. After that you will write sc dot get init parameter, and what is the parameter that I am defining into the web.xml, that is code. So I'll copy and paste over here. Now it will return the value corresponding to this parameter name. So we can store this value into the string any variable. So suppose s1 or any value. S1 is equal to this, and here I'm going to print this out dot print, and here I will write into one tag, copy paste, and here is s1. Okay, so now see the output. Where is this page? This one. So this is servlet config parameter, okay, and this is coming due to the one parameter is defined into the servlets, okay, and another one is to earn first learn. Okay, I think marquee is not closed properly, that's why. So the thing that you have defined into your context, you can get into your servlets by writing these things. So this is the way that you can get the servlet context value into any servlet. First, get the servlet context. After that, call the parameter and parameter name. Then you will say that sir, we are using the same method to access the value. Just look at here, get init parameter, and here is also get init parameter. But one difference you can see here, that this method is calling with the help of Servlet Context. And here we are not calling this method by using Servlet Context. We are calling this method direct. And since this method is provided by your init, so you can get the value direct that is defined into your current servlet. And to the get the value that is defined and that is put into your context, you can get those values by getting the servlet context, and after that init parameter. So one more thing I will do here to show you one more difference. As you know that we have defined one more servlet in our application, that is second servlet. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to write this code into the second servlet also. Fine. Okay, this is already defined and this is not required. So going to execute this one, just look at the output. Now you can see that the servlet config that we are accessing is returning null, but the servlet get init parameter, which is defined into the context, is returning the value on this servlet also. So you are getting the value that is defined into the context on both servlet, on the second servlet as well as on the first servlet. But the value that is defined using XYZ is not accessible into the second servlet. Just look at it. And we are getting null. Okay. So why this is returning null? Because this XYZ is defined into this servlet, and this servlet class name is first servlet. So this value can be accessible only within the first servlet. So depending upon the nature, that where you want to put the values, for example, you want to put the value that should be accessible on every servlet, right into the context. If you want to put some value that should be accessible within only the servlet, then write within the servlet by using init parameter. So I hope these two things are now clear, that what is servlet configuration and what is context, servlet context. Now, yes, is it clear? So one more example I will show you by using the servlet context. And what is that? Suppose this is your first servlet. Okay, just come to this servlet again. And here what we are doing actually, just look at the code. We are getting the value from the user and performing the insertion operation or registration operation into the database. Okay. So for what we do for this, first we connect to the database by using these two lines. One is your class.forName, second one is your connection con driver manager.get connection, and you provide the URLs. And at this, and now I want to see the results. I want to see the results, and I want to see all the users information in my application. Here, if I come to this page, that is the first page, And here is a button that say show all users record. Getting my question? This is the registration page. So when you want to register the user, you will fill the form and then submit. Then that user will register with your application. And another one is say that show all users record. So whenever you will, when you click on that button, it should show all the records here on your browser. Okay. So I'm going to create one more logic, and I will call that servlet as, I'm going to create one more servlet, just look at here. And that servlet will be called as get all records. Okay. So this servlet will perform the operation and it will get all the records from the database and it will display to the user. So next, finish, delete, and here do get, I will write, and from here I'll delete all the stuff that is unnecessary in my code. Actually, I'm using the NetBeans ID, so it gives you so many things by default. Fine. So this is the do get, and we know the parameters: HTTP request, HTTP response. So this servlet is responsible to show all the records of registered user. So to get all the records, we have already write the code that how to get the values from your database. So I'm not going to explain those things. I'll just going to write the code. And for try, we will write the catch also. Catch, and here this one, and catch the exception E, and from here I will create one statement object. We have seen prepared statement, so I'm going to create a statement object from the java.sql. stmt is equal con dot create a statement, and when we want to get the record, then we create the result set. Result set rs is equal stmt dot execute query, and what is the query? Select all from login master. Fine. And HTML head, title, head, and body. I'll cut it from this part and I'll put here because I'm going to write the HTML code into this. So it should be in HTML. Since this is your Java code, so you will write all the HTML code into double inverted comma. So here is the get all records, servlet get all records, head, body, and this is not the thing that I want to print. I want to print the value like while rs dot next, and within it I will print the values. So how to print the values like into the tabular form? I will write whole the code in one go, so it will not take too much time. So first I will write out.println. Within it I will create a table first of all. Okay. And as we know that in table there is a tr tag and there is a table head tag also. So we'll create the table head tag. So how many columns are there? So there were 5 columns. So I will put 5 times 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first column heading will be tr is close. So first heading column is let me open. Where is my database? This one. Yes. Password. Okay. So this is my database. Let me fetch the value. Login ID, password, user type, gender, and country. So I'll put the same name. That will make sense. So here is your login ID. And then do you want to show the password? Definitely in application, we will not show the user's password, but here I'm just writing user type. Another one is, what is the value? That is gender. Okay. So here is your gender. And the last one is your country name. And after that, what will I do? I'll close. Only the thing that is very difficult into the servlet, that designing the page, because this is the Java and you are embedding the HTML code into the servlets. So this is a tedious work, but if you do one time, then it will run for all the values. So out.println tr is fine, and here is tr td and /td for 1, and there are 5 values. So I'll copy, paste, 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 and one more time paste. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And at the end, I'll close the tr. So I hope you are getting that what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to represent the value into the tabular format. And here I'll concat rs dot get a string that is 1. Copy, paste, paste. I don't get a string 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, I think one line is extra. So let me execute first that we are getting the value or not, then I'll explain all the record, all the code. So just look at here that you can see the record in the tabular form, that is the login ID, password, user type, gender, and the country that we have already registered. So what we need to do is here, I need to access the value from this page by clicking on any button. So what we need to do, we'll create one button over here. After that, we'll click and then we'll call this servlet. So let's do that here. And this is your HTML page. So I'll call this by using reference. And here is your get all records. And the link is show all records. it will ask that show me all the records. So this is the record link. Click on it, and you can see that it is telling you all the records which is available in your database. So this is the selection, and in this example, you can see one more thing, that if you want to represent your output in the form of HTML tabular or HTML well formed, then you need to write all the HTML into out.println. So what I'm going to do is just look at this code. Class.forName, com.mysql.jdbc.driver, connection con driver manager dot get connection jdbc colon mysql colon localhost 3306 new db root and password. So what you can do with respect to these values, okay, you can define these parameters, that is com.mysql.jdbc.driver, jdbc this URL and the username and the password. You can see that this connection, to establish the connection, we need these two lines in which the parameters are common for all servlets. Just look at here. First servlet, in which you will find that the com.mysql.jdbc.driver, and here you are writing the same thing. So what you can do, you can define these values, okay, into your web.xml, and whenever your application will be uploaded, these values will be initialized, and you can get these values from your web.xml. And what is the benefit of it? The benefit of this using is, suppose you want to change your username, you want to change your password, you want to change the port number, even you want to change your the database, then you don't need to come on every servlet to write the code. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, if we define these parameters into our web.xml, and further, if is there any requirement that the password should be changed of this user, okay, so you need to change only into one place, that is your web.xml. And if you are if you not mention into the web.xml, then if you want to change the password, then you will go on every servlet to change it. Okay, so configuration we can write into the web.xml. So here I'm going to write the configuration. Here I will write the driver. And what is the name of the driver? That is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. And here is one context parameter. So we can define as many as number of param name and param value. Okay, one thing. Here is the name, and no. Okay. Let's copy and paste. And I will write the URL. What is the URL of this? The URL is this one. So copy and paste into the web.xml, this one. And copy and paste. I will write the user, and username is root. And password. So what is the password of this? Then I will write the password. Okay. So now we'll get these values by using these names, that is the password, user, URL, and driver. And since it is defined into the context, so first of all, what you need to do is just get the context, okay, and get the values. So this is your driver. So this is your driver. Then a string, a string URL is equal sc dot get init parameter, and the parameter name we have mentioned as URL. A string user is equal sc dot get init parameter and the name user, and a string password is equal sc dot get init parameter, that is pwd. Okay, come to one more time. This will give you the context object, and whatever the value into the context, you can get the value by using get init parameter. And since we have defined the driver URL user pwd as a parameter, just look at here, driver URL user and pwd as a parameter. So when you will write that get parameter, then it will return the value corresponding to these parameter, and it will store into these variables. So in place of this, what I can write the driver, isn't it? In place of this URL, what I can write, only the URL. At this place, I can write only the user, and at this place, I can write only the password. Okay. So let me copy and paste the same thing in this code, this one. And this is also required to get the values. Copy and paste. Okay. So let's see that this code is getting executed or not. First of all, we'll see this. So reload, show all record. So look at here. Still we are able to get the values, but what happened when you write this code? Suppose you want to change the password of the user, and in database now you have changed the password from password to 123. So in the previous situation, what you do, you will change the password on every page, but in this current situation, you will change the password into only web.xml, that is password here. So it will reflect into all the servlets. This is because you are getting the value from your context. So if it gets changed into the context, definitely it will reflect everywhere wherever you have get the values. Okay, this is one example to understand that what is the use of actually the context. Context means the application. Okay, so if you put anything into the application, that will be accessible into whole servlet's own application. So I hope this is clear. So any question, any doubt, then you can put your query into the chat box. Fine. So this is all about your context, servlet context, and servlet config. Servlet config and servlet context. Okay, come one more time over here. So request and response, we are doing the code from the very first day, that how to request and how to respond to the client. So here, a web browser send an HTTP request to the web server when any of the following event happen. So when this request will come into the HTTP, a user click on a hyperlink. Okay, by anchor tag we create the hyperlinks. A user fills out a form in HTML page and submit it. Or user can enter the URL in the browser address field and press enter. So we have seen already these three things that how to send HTTP request to the web server. Okay, the servlet and send a response back to the web browser. HTTP request method could be your get and post. Get parameter data is limited and send data to the server as a query string. And post the parameter data is unlimited and sent to the server as a message body. Query string means that you can see the value onto your URL. If the client sends a request using HTTP method get, the service method calls doGet. Okay, and if it is post, then service method calls doPost. So we have already seen that in which situation we should write the doGet and in which situation we should write the doPost. Okay, this is not required because we have already seen this one. Status code. Okay. So what are the things that comes into your request you can get by using the request object? Okay. So as you can see here, just come to the servlet. Just look at here. This is your HTTP servlet request that returns the request object. Okay. So when you send any request, when any client send a request to the server, then there are so many things comes into the request. First thing, definitely the user's data into the parameter, and we can get these values by using get parameter. One thing we have already seen. Second one, what other things comes into the request? Another one is your header. This method returns just one of the value associated with the given header. So the header could be your look at here. This is your headers. Okay, this is your request line. So request headers, that is what is the host, which user agent you are using. Okay, what is the accepting language? So user agent means your browser, that is Mozilla, Firefox, and other things. So you can get all the values by getting by using this method. Which one? This. That is the get headers. And get parameter values we have already discussed in the previous session. Get parameter names. Get parameter names means these are your parameters name. Okay, so if you want to get the names of the parameter only, then you can use get parameters names. Okay, so I will not write the code of get parameters name. This is your task today that you will do, that how to get the parameters name by using get parameters name. Just note down the method name, get parameters name. Okay, and get cookies, get session, get input stream. So these methods we'll use further in the session. So I'll explain these methods at that time. When you send any response to the user, then we write the first send content type, then we write the get writer, output stream, the cookies, headers, and redirection. So there are so many things that you can do with the response, and by using this object, that is your response object. So now today we'll learn that how to use the response and request for inter-server communication. Okay. So Ming, you were asking when I was discussing about the set content type, is it? So I told you that you can set as per your requirement that which type of the data you want to send as a response to the user. So just look at here. Instead of sending back an HTML page, response contains the bytes representing other information. Read the bytes of the other content, then write them to the responses output stream. So how to change this bind type? Just look at here. We are using this set content type, that is text.html. So in header, when it get back to the user as a response, it is like content type text.html. Suppose you want to send an Excel document, okay, an Excel document as a response. So you will type that this is an application and the type of vnd.ms Excel. You will write this one. Fine. So this line can be changed according to the versions. Suppose you want to send the Excel, you want to send PDF, then it could be changed. So one thing you need to do is what type of the content we should write if you want to send. If you want to send a PDF, if you want to send images, if you want to send any document file, you need to search and make a list of those content type. So if you want to send any document, you can write this one. These two things we'll discuss. That is now. This part is important, and today's main agenda to learn the redirecting the responses. This is the main theme, okay, for today's session. So how to redirect the response? Redirect means, just look at here. This is my HTML page. When I say that show all records, and when I fill up the form and submit it, then it go to your servlet where the action gets performed, and after that it will resides at that location. Where? At the same servlet, get all records and the first servlet. If you want to redirect your response from this servlet to another location, okay, so you can use this method that is called response.sendRedirect. Okay, so you can redirect your response by calling the method response.sendRedirect. So how to do this response.sendRedirect? For that, I'll create one scenario, and I will try to write the code and then explain it. Okay. So to understand the scenario, I'll draw one diagram into the paint. This is your client, and this is your client, and you want to this client will provide username and password. It will give you two things, username and what is the password. What you need to do is you need to verify that the username and password input by the client is correct or not. Can you do this? The username and password is correct or not? So what you will do, first you will connect to the database. After that, you will match this value that is provided by the user with respect to the database, which is already have some value into the table. So if this username and password exist into the database, then we can say that the user is a valid user. Okay. So user will give you the username and password, and you need to verify. So for that, definitely you will write some code into the Java. And for that, since this code will run into your server, so definitely you will create one servlet. And we will send this to a servlet that is called login verify, or you can say user verify servlet. User verify servlet that will verify the user. So it means this request will go for this servlet from here to here. Got it? So there are two situations. One, user can be a valid user, or user can be an invalid user. Means the verification can be successful or unsuccessful. So what should happen if user is verified or not verified? Will decide. So this is the scenario: if user verified and if user not verified. So look at here. I will do this. If it is not verified, if it is not verified, then send back the response to the client that user is not a valid user. Got it? And if the user is a valid user, then send that user and to its home page if user gets verified. Got it? I think the scenario is now clear, that what I'm going to try to do. Is it clear now? Okay. So just tell me that this user verify servlet and the home servlet will be at server. Okay. So one question is it mandatory and is it now required to write any output statement into the user verify servlet? No. Why? If user is verified, then it will go into the home page. If user is not verified, then it will go into the onto the client. Okay. So this will act as a mediator only to perform your logic, business logic. Got it? So we'll do only the logical portion onto the servlet. So we can say that it can act as a redirect manager or a traffic controller, that if the request comes, then we'll see that where we have to redirect that traffic. If the user is verified, I'll send the request response to the home page. If the user is not verified, then it will go back to the client. Okay. So it will take time to write this scenario code, and for that I'm not I will not write the code into the same project, because maybe it will create some problem. So I'm going to create a new web application, a fresh web application, and here is a new application. Okay. Next, and I'll use the next 5. Finish. And all the other stuff that is not required. for this page. Okay, so I'm going to design this into the JSP. We'll write into the center username in input type text, name is uname, means username, close it, then br, password, input type password, and the name is upassword, and again br tag, then input type is your submit, value is login, and the field that is required or not required you can put as per your requirement. Form action is now blank, and method, definitely the method will be post because user will enter. Okay, proxy, yes, mediator you can say. Okay, you can say. So there are so many terms that we can use. So if you understand with this term, then it is fine, no problem at all. Okay, man. But actually the name in application, what we say, this servlet, this is, where is my page? This one. Actually we say it is as user verification servlet. We can say that this is the controller. Okay, this is the controller, and you can see that this is controlling the traffic. Okay, so this is actually controller. One designing pattern I told you, if you have remembered, that is MVC, model view controller. Have you remember? Okay, so M for model, V is for view, and C is for the controller. So actually the servlet main purpose is for the controlling. Okay, so I'm defining the controller. What is the view, what is the model, we'll see. And why we are writing the JSP, I don't want to create the HTML page, so I can write the same HTML page on the JSP, so it doesn't matter. I'm just using the JSP to design our page. Fine, Meng? And definitely, if you want to send the username and password, then this method will be post. You cannot write the get because that password will be visible into the URL, so this will not look nice that your application is showing the user's password into the URL. So look at that, what is the output of this page. Okay, so I'm executing this one. Okay, no, I don't want to use this one. I'll use my browser Chrome. So I'll use the Chrome. Okay, so this is the username and the password field. After that, you will click on the login, then it will go and check the user's validity. Okay, so what you have to do, first of all, you have to create one servlet with the name of, so in my application, that the newly created application, I'm going to create one more servlet. So what I'm going to do is I will copy and paste, so it will save my time. What is the name of the servlet I want to put? User verify servlet. Okay, so I will write user verify servlet, and the package name I will put com.lari, and the next and finish. So this is my servlet where my request will come, and since I have put in the same name for the URL pattern and the name, so I can write the user verify servlet. And the method is a post. There are so many stuff that is provided by this, so I'll delete this. Since you all are using Eclipse, right? So that's why I'm writing only, sorry, do post. This is the do post, not do get, do post. First of all, and these are not required because no output we want to show here. So this is not required. Try, definitely will write the catch also. Catch in exception E. And I'll print the exception on my log page. So system.out.println. Here a string username is equal request.get parameter. Parameter name is uname. If you have remember, just look at once. Uname is the parameter. Okay, so I'll use this one. Copy, paste, and here is your password. Fine. So this is your password and this is your username. And look at this code very attentively, because after that I will assign one small task to all of you. Okay, and that's why I'm typing the code. So since this is the new project, so first I'll do one thing. I will add the library that is the connector, since it is a new. So in every application, you have to add the external library of connection. And to verify the user, what I will do, class.forName first I will write, and I will write com.mysql. Okay, what I can do, just copy and paste. So it will save my time. Web.xml context, I'm copying from here into this project, the second project I have created. So here I'm going to create one context. So this web.xml is not now required. Okay. And again, source this for servlet, servlet context, copy, paste. Okay. And this copy and paste. So I hope these statements are clear to everyone what I'm doing here. After this, I'm getting the servlet context, and in web.xml, I have defined all the parameters. Just look at here. I have done the copy and paste. Okay, look at here. In the context parameter, all things is defined. And here, in the class.forName, driver manager, and now this will be changed. Now tell me the query. Can anyone tell me that what is the query I will write to verify the user? This is the username. This is the password. So which type of the query I will write here? Selection or other than selection? Good. So we'll write the selection query. Good. Justin, your answer is good. Fine. So what is the query we'll write? Can you tell me? I will write the select. Okay. I can write the select asterisk from The table name, that is login master, as we have already defined. Okay. Now I will mention where. Okay. Where, good. So where, what is the field name for the value I want to match? The field name, just look at here. The field name is login ID. Okay. So where the login ID is equal to any one of them. Okay. So this value is coming from the user. So I will write where the login ID is equal question mark. Fine. And not only the login ID, password should also be matched. So, and the password is equal to the question mark, the placeholder, the password. Okay. And here, what we do, we'll write pst dot set a string. At index number 1, we'll set the value of the username. Okay. And at index number pst dot set a string 2, we'll set the password. Is it fine? Now tell me if you are not getting what I'm writing. Just you can ask me. And whenever we write the select query, we get the result in the form of the result set. We have already discussed into the JDBC. So result set, that is rs is equal and pst dot execute query. Now tell me, how many records can be returned by this code? One. Okay. Justin, how many records can be? What are the possibilities that it can return this number of the records? One. Okay, fine. And what, Hinduja? One. Okay. So one more thing I want to add with your answer. Your answer is correct, but the situation is the username and password is correct then. If the username and password doesn't match with your query, then it will return 0 record, isn't it? So the possibilities are 0 and 1. Got it? Suppose the username is incorrect, password is correct, then you will get the 0 record. If the username is correct, password is incorrect, then you will get the 0 record. If both are correct, then you will get 1 record because the login ID is primary key. Got it? So in place of while, can we write that if rs.next? Just tell me. Because we can get only 1 record if the username password is correct. If the username password is incorrect, then we'll get 0 record. So if 1 record is there, then rs.next will execute. Otherwise, it will not execute. There could be only 2 situations. Getting this statement? No. Okay. Just look at here. Not correct. Why? Yes, Boolean. Good. So rs.next means it will return the Boolean value if it has the next value. Otherwise, it will return, if the next value exists, then it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. rs.next returns either true or false. So if it is true, and the true condition is if there is a record, and if there is no record, then it will return false. Meng. Just tell me. Okay. So I hope it is clear now. Okay. So if user is valid user, then this piece of the code will run. Okay. If user is invalid, then this piece of the code will run that you will write into the else. So what is the requirement of our application scenario? Just look at here. If the user is verified, then go to the home page. If user is not verified, go back to the page from where the request is coming. Okay. So to do this, we can write that response.sendRedirect, where I want to send at home page. So home page can be your JSP, home page can be your HTML page, or home can be your servlet. So I am now redirecting at the home page, that is your servlet. And if it is not, then redirect to from where it is coming. It is coming from the index.jsp. So just go back to index.jsp. So it means this resource we need to create, because this resource is not available in my application. So I'm going to create one page with the home. Just come to this application and create one servlet with the name home. Okay. Next, finish. So now execute this code. If everything is fine, then it will verify the user. So ABC and this one login. So look at here. That's again, I come back at index.jsp page. Okay. If the username and password is correct. So what is the username? Admin and super. Okay. So let me input admin and the password is super. So let's see that. Okay. Maybe I have written the root directly. That's why. Where I am writing. Come to this. Okay. This one. Admin. Okay. One more time. Admin and the password is the super, and just look at here. So now this is your home page. You can see here, and the username is password is incorrect, then you will go back to the index page. If the username and password is correct, then you will go into the home page. So how do you redirect this? By using, we do this by using send redirect. Now tell me, it is clear? Okay. So now the situation is, now this is for you, everyone. Just try to make this. If user get verified, then we'll go to the home page. And if user is not verified, then we'll back to the page, the requested page, from where the request is coming. The task for you is, if user, yes, you can redirect to any page. This is the scenario that I have created. You can redirect to any page. You just need to mention this one. Okay, man? Okay. So you are writing the resource name where it should be go. Okay. So you are writing that it should go at index page. You are writing that it should go at home page. So you can write anyone. So, when we create any web application or any application, what we do first, we create the whole DFD, data flow diagram, plus your request and response process. So all should be on paper. And after that, we'll go to the coding. and there is a phase that is called the analysis and designing and everything. Okay, so after that we go for the coding. So you can see here one small example. This is the scenario that we want to write the code according to this scenario. So that's why I am writing index.jsp. Fine. So you can write anything. Now the task to you is, look at here. Look at the database first. Login ID, password. There are two types of the user. In fact, there are three types of the user. You can say one is your admin, second one is your student, third one is your user. Got it? Okay. So what you need to do is verified, and if admin, if the user is admin, then it will go to the home page, and if it is not admin and it is a student, okay, then it will go to a student home page. I hope you got it, that where you need to redirect this one. So only you need to change few things. If it is admin, then it will go here. If it is not admin, then it will go onto the student page. I hope you can do this, because you need to write only one line statement. So you can see that there are so many resources are available, but according to the user's role, we get the resource to get to use in application. Yes. So can you do this? So tomorrow I'll ask that that it is completed or not. So any query, any question? Actually, this was the main thing that I want to discuss today, that is the redirection. And to understand this, what we need to do is create a whole scenario. After that, we write the code, and accordingly we'll get the users information. Okay, tell me. So no queries. Okay, tomorrow's session. Yes, Meng, I remember you the thing that I want to discuss. But you know, these things should be covered. I'll cover after discussing few more things. Otherwise, there is a step that what should be discussed um, after which topic. Okay, so just wait. Tomorrow I'll tell you, because one more thing I want to discuss to redirect, that is request dispatcher. One more thing is available, that is request dispatcher. So what is the difference between response and request dispatcher? I'll discuss, and after that we'll show you some more example, and after that I will show you that how to see the data onto the same page. Okay, so just wait one more day. Definitely tomorrow I'll discuss it. Okay, welcome. So this is the whole scenario. Just remember these things and do the coding. If you get any error, any problem, you can see the videos that I have that I will share the link, and you can take the reference. And okay, that's all. Tomorrow we'll see few things. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.